We all know this problem. You want to play sophisticated, soulful piano, but you only have 4 paws? But no more. Ujam has the solution. Virtual Pianist VIBE lets you play the most wonderful parts with just 1 paw.
Hey everyone, my name is Derek van Krook, and today I invite you to a tour through yet another nice Ujam release, Virtual Pianist VIBE. Much like Ujam's first Virtual Pianist, at its core, this is a collection of nice piano instruments. This time, electric pianos. The electric piano has cemented its place in contemporary music for decades, and over the years it has offered different aesthetics, which are represented with these characters. From the classic electric piano sound, to the bell-like sounds of early models, from slightly damped, warm tones of prepared models, to the funky mid-range of dirtier sounding models, all the way to the almost artificial sounding glossy tones from the 80s onwards. So these are super nice pianos with all the technical bells and whistles of modern deep sampling, allowing for nuance and character that's up there with the very best. Still, that would just be another piano plugin. But this is a virtual pianist.
The electric piano demands our undivided feline attention. Ujam brings you the perfect solution just in the catnip of time. Play Virtual Pianist VIBE as if you went all paws in, but with just 1 paw.
Particularly electric pianos only sound as good as you play them. And maybe you're not a pianist. This is where this ridiculously sophisticated player engine comes into play. Let's take a look at how it works. We first pick a key. Please select a key. It will of course play without a key, but selecting a key allows the player engine to behave a million times smarter. If you don't know the root key of your song, it will likely be one of the chords in your song. If you're starting a new one and have no plans yet, maybe just pick a random key and see what happens. Just pick C major if you want. Have I mentioned how much better the engine is when you pick a key? So now that we have picked a key, we can play chords with just 1 paw. Finger, being aware of the root key, the player now makes countless musical decisions. It knows that in C, playing an A is usually expected to be A minor. And it will make similar decisions for whatever key you press. But like a real pianist, it will not just move parts up and down like some guitar bar chord. Instead, it will change inversions and voicings like a real pianist would. If you don't know what that means, let's just say that your hands always gravitate to the same range on the keyboard for a more musical flow. A range that you can set with these funky little arrows. Of course, this isn't limited to major and minor. The player engine is aware of even complex voicings, of the sort that read like you accidentally went to math instead of music class. So whenever you play full chords with multiple paws, fingers, the player will rightly assume that you know what you're doing and override its own instincts, if you will. All of this allows you to waltz through different harmony changes with absolute ease, always sounding musical. And speaking of waltz.
Haven't we all been there? You need smooth keys for your next hip-hop beat, but you also have other obligations? Ujam rose to the challenge with laser pointer focus. Virtual Pianist VIBE. Nice keys for your beats with just 1 paw.
In this menu, you will find lots of styles, ranging from utilitarian basics all the way to super complex parts. Whether you just need some basic chords, funky rhythm parts, a cute ballad piano, or maybe a substance-induced late 70s style solo for your bridge. It's all there. Let's take a look at something funky. So yes, that's just some accents. Let's add some more of that. More. Some more. Or let's have some fills. By the way, you might think there's 3 fills, but these fills actually change depending from which phrase you're coming. So when you're on these keys and play a fill, it's different than when you're on these keys and play a fill. This is to ensure that the fills always flow naturally from what came before. And speaking of natural flow.
We all love treats, but the best treat of them all comes from Ujam. Virtual Pianist VIBE. Treat yourself to the most exquisite piano, no tuna needed. And best of all, play it all with just one paw.
A human piano player will always react to what's happening around him, musically at least. And while adding occasional fills is nice and fun, there's more to dynamic piano playing than that. This is where the pitch and mod will come in. They serve as fluent controls that influence the dynamics of what is played and how much is played. This way of conducting your pianist might sound a bit abstract if described in mere words, so a musical demonstration might better explain this.
I'm a singer, and when I sing a song, I'll leave gaps in my vocal lines in which the music may respond in some way. I would know because I'm singing into the phone, unaware of the musical context that will be added later.
So while explicit fills would have been too much for each gap between the vocal lines, these fluent controls allow for a nuanced way of responding to the musical context. And speaking of musical nuance.
So there's demand for your light-footed piano playing, but it's also nap time. Right out of the cardboard box, Ujam's Virtual Pianist VIBE lets you solve this with ease, and with just one paw.
Another important aspect of electric pianos is your choice of voicings. Voicings largely determine how soulful your piano part sounds. This is where I get to proudly introduce a new innovation, fresh from the nerd development labs in Ujam's secret basement. This button can switch between simplified, universal, and complex voicings, once you've selected a key. One could say with this button you can choose how long the player engine has studied music theory. In the simplified setting, it will insist on the most basic voicings. In short, it sounds a bit as if Coldplay booked my daughter as their next keyboarder. Next is the universal voicing mode. This adds the occasional voicing trick to make chords flow into one another in a more seamless way, but without going overboard. Think of it as the Elton John among the voicing modes. And just like Elton John, the setting works in pretty much any context. Finally, there's the complex voicing mode. This is cool stuff. Depending on the part, the player will add more complexity to the voicings and sometimes even transpose the leading voices to different scales. This enables you to play with just one paw, finger, and still produce sophisticated parts. It's not jazz, but if the previous mode sounded like Elton John, then this maybe is Stevie Wonder or something. And of course, this works with drag and drop too. Anyway, I absolutely love this. Play with one finger and sound like some funky neo-soul cat. And speaking of cats,
It's one of the oldest problems in the litter box. You're booked for a jam session, but you have other important obligations. Of course, there will always be Virtual Pianist VIBE, where it can all be done with just one paw.
if you've used Virtual Pianist VIBE before, you might remember that it comes with an army of creative effects that go way beyond regular piano sounds. Electric piano being an instrument that plays particularly well with effects, the effect options of VIBE have expanded even further. As before, these are not just effects but can also manipulate the sound on the sample level, like this mode that alters the mechanical noises and puts them more into focus. It would take forever to cover this in detail, so suffice it to say, there's a lot of stuff here that's custom tailored to be used with electric piano. Like, in addition to Vogue's nice stereo and hi-fi phaser, there's now also a vintage mono phaser. Or a manual one that you can play like a wah-wah. Or, well, a wah-wah. Or vintage amps. Or jazz amps. Also, lots of saturation and distortion. After all, the electric piano is a close relative of the electric guitar, closer than many would think. But it's not all just vintage. We could also turn this same part into a somewhat evil synth bass, sounding strangely live like few actual synths would be able to do, and then add some nice pads and sequences. So to sum up the effects capabilities, this is all still based on nothing but Vibe's electric pianos.
Your Instagram career and your ambitions as Piano Cat have created hissing conflicts in your schedule? No problem. Ujam Virtual Pianist VIBE. Have your Shiva and eat it too, with just one paw.
Finally, let's have a quick look at how all of this adds up. You might be a guitar player that uses this as a misbehaved member of a dirty-sounding ensemble. Maybe you're a pianist yourself who just got this for the nice sounds, but you might still use the player as a quick indicator of which preset is good for which part. Or you might be a singer, songwriter, and you just need a quick, always tasteful sounding musical companion that you can play with just one paw. Finger. As always, feel free to ignore anything I say and judge for yourself by downloading the traditional ujam demo that runs without any restrictions for 1 month. That's about 1 cat year, so not too bad. And that was Virtual Pianist VIBE.
With just one paw.